Go
Can
ahead.
hear you
We
now.
can hear
I'm
you. Yeah.
hearing you.
Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, so here x is 10 and it is a type of a variable, sorry, data type, which is called a string when it is declared in quotes. Here 10 is a number, and when you try to add it, it takes it as an plus operator of mathematics and adds it as in 10 plus 20 and 30. Here, it is not going to error out, but it is not going to give you a desired output, probably what you think. Here, it is going to give you output of z equal to 1020, because here it understands in JavaScript there is one more operator called plus. If you try to use plus for two strings, strings means anything which you declare in quotes. If you are declaring a variable value in double quotes or single quotes, then it is called a string. So here this is a string data type, and if you try to add two strings using plus operator, then it understands as it that you're trying to concatenate two strings. So here it is going to give you output of 10 20 instead of 30. Now what will happen if you have one variable declared as number and another declared as a string? Here in this case again, it is going to give you output of a string value only, because then in this case it is just trying to tell you that no, this is going to be, this is a concatenation operation, because another one is a number and another, the second one is a string. In the same way, this one is again going to be a concatenation operation, because this understands that if you're trying to string in a number, add a string in a number, then it understands this as concatenation operation as well. Now here, this is something really tricky. So if you, what do you guys think this will result in this case? Anybody wants to answer here? Any idea? Just give a rough whatever you guys think. It doesn't have to be a correct answer. Nobody?
My check.
Take a guess, guys. It's okay. It doesn't have to be right answer.
And I think probably I should just call names. Oh
Okay,
yeah,
then
Brian, what is your take?
okay, yeah. Brian, go ahead.
I'm trying to look at it, but I'm trying to fit. I think yeah, I think that it's okay. You should say X is 10, Y is 20. I think a string.
Mm-hmm.
My take is I don't think the answer is 30 because I see the word Z equals, then the word, the result is in brackets. So I don't think the answer shall be 30.
That is
Okay.
absolutely correct, Brian. You are right here.
Hello?
So the answer is not 30 here. The answer is going to be,
Hello?
the result is 10 20. So yes, you are right. Here the answer is going to be, the result is 1020, because here the
Okay.
first part of this string, this is a string. So that's why it understands that it is a concatenation operation, not an addition. So yes, you are right. Okay. Now the same thing here. What do you guys think will be the answer here in this case of this result? Hmm. How about Grace? Can you try to answer here?
I think I have the answer.
No?
I'm coming. I'm looking at it. 30. Mm, 30. I'm thinking. 30, 30. Yes, sir.
30, 30. Yeah, that's correct. Great. So here the answer would be 30, 30, 30, 30, because it will first add first two and then the third one. Okay, so those are type of operations which are very
Yeah,
tricky
yeah.
and
It's 30, 30. Yeah,
yeah, that's correct, Brian. So those are kind of
yeah.
operations
It
which
will
makes
add
it little
x
bit.
and y. That will be 30. Then
Mm-hmm.
the z shall remain 30 in a bracket. That's how I
String.
think.
Yes. Yes, that is correct. That's absolutely correct. So that's what it is going to do here. Then there are various other things, which is called, I would say, precedence operations as well. I would say you guys should look into it more. What is precedence operators, which means that which operator is going to take the precedence or the preference over the others. So what are the operators we are talking about, like plus, minus, multiplication, division,
Hey,
and all those operators. So here
hey,
now there is, yeah, Brian, go ahead. Yes, Brian.
I think he's having issues with his network.
Okay, so
so yeah. So can I ask something? Like now here, if you
mhm.
if you're dividing, adding, or subtracting a string. No, I was just asking if you're dividing. Yeah, I'm having some. Yeah, so I know. I was just asking if you're dividing, adding, or subtracting strings. Is it a must that it has to convert them?
Convert the number to
Hello,
string to number. Yes, I can hear you, Brian. Go ahead.
hello,
Hello, Brian. We can hear you.
hello.
Hello, Brian. We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes.
So I was asking, like, is it a must that it will always convert the? Yeah, is it? Yeah. So I'm asking, is it a must that it will always convert the strings to a number?
So it
Yeah,
does it
I can
is,
hear you.
yeah,
So I'm saying, like,
yeah.
if you're adding or subtracting or dividing, all that, is it a must that it's going to always convert the string to a number?
Yes, so it is always going to try to convert the strings to number when you are trying to do operations, unless it is if unless you are trying to do addition,
Okay,
that's when it
okay,
has some limitations. But in other operations, that's what I was trying to jump next to. So if you are trying to divide, then it always, and you have one variable as a string and another as a normal new number, like a numerical digit, then it works perfectly fine. It tries to convert it internally and then it gives you the result. But with the addition it doesn't happen that way, because plus is something which is used for two things in javascript, which is used for string concatenation and also for as an addition operator. So that's why it just tries to separate it out, and it doesn't convert it in case of addition. But if you're doing other operations using strings, so like you're doing division, you are doing multiplication, and if you're doing even subtraction, then if one number is a numerical digit like this x here and another is a string like this y here, it is going to do that operation and give you an answer. So suppose in this case, x is 100 and y is 10. So in this case, you will get 10 here. And in this case, x is also a string, y is also a string, and you're still going to get 1000 here. But if you would have done this with two strings and plus here, you would get a different answer here. You will get 110 as an answer. 110, I mean 100 and then 10 besides it. So basically, what you say, 10,010 will be the answer. But if you're doing other operations like division, multiplication, or subtraction, then the picture is totally different. It actually does the operation for you, even if it's a string. So basically, it converts that string to a number and then it goes ahead with the operation. Anybody has questions or it's a little bit confusing? So this, if it is a confusing, you have question, you can ask now. Or if you want to take some more time, then this link is also here somewhere, probably this is the one. So if you click on it, and there are other links too which are supporting these articles. So hopefully when you read by yourself, you will have more time, and probably you can go more into depth to read about it. But if you have questions right now, feel free to ask. Now, there is one more concept as NaN in JavaScript, which is called not a number. So this is a reserved word. Now, reserved word. What are reserved words in JavaScript? Basically, there are various, I would say, keywords which are reserved, and you cannot use them as variable names or any, I would say, anything else in JavaScript. So, such as let, constant, those are all also a reserved word. And where, so you cannot use those keywords as variable names, or basically variable names. Mostly using them as a string won't really matter, but you cannot use them as variable names. Variable names, by mean that if you want to say that let nan equal to one one Aditi, something like that. If you want to store some string variable name like that, that you want to say it's not a number, and you probably want to say it's not a string too, but you cannot use this nan as a variable name here. It's a reserved word. Let is a reserved word. Constant is a reserved word. Where is a reserved word. There are various reserved words, so you cannot use them as variable names. So n is, I will go to nan now. Nan is basically a not a number concept. So if you are doing some operation on some two variables or something, then, so suppose you're trying to divide 1000 by uh, some other string. The string is probably somebody's name. So, do you think it is going to give you a result? No, right? You cannot divide. It's a general mathematical concept that you cannot, you can divide only two numbers. You cannot divide a number by somebody's name. So, in that case, it is going to tell you, if you're trying to attempt some operation, it will tell you that it's not a number. The result is not a result, is type of what you say, number, which is called nan. So basically, nan, you can say it's a type of uh, uh, yeah, probably say type of a number only. Okay, so something like this operation here, that 100, there somebody is trying to divide 100 by string apple, and obviously this, we can see that this is not possible operation. So JavaScript says that this x is equal to nan. So nan, it is actually going to give you a value x equal to nan. Okay, so similarly here, this is a valid operation. We know that with division, if it is a string, even if it is declared, number is declared as a string, it is a valid operation. So it is going to give you some result. Also, so nan, how it can be used, because it doesn't make really sense for me generally that whether you want x to check that it's nan or not. It doesn't matter. You probably are expecting some value out of it or something like that. That's a valid I guess output I would be expecting. So what is the use of nan? So this is where it is used, that in javascript when you are writing some function or some code, you want to check whether whatever the value or the output is, whether that output is a number or not. And in some cases you might want it to be not a number, and then you want to do specific operations after checking that okay, if x is not equal to, is not a number, then I want to probably concatenate it with another string, or I want to send this value to another function, anything. But this is something, one of the thing that people do is like they check, try to find out whether this their whatever the number is, it's number or not. So what, how you do is you use isn't these two parentheses, and inside it you provide the value which you want to check whether it's a number or not. So yeah, example is here like this. So in this case, because this x is not a number, so yeah, it is going to return true, because x is not a number, because we are trying to divide 100 by apple. But in some other case where suppose if instead of apple this would have been 10 in strings, then x would be definitely a number which is 10. Then this is an x would have been false. It will return the value of false to us. Now here is something sorry, here is something which is interesting here, that if you are trying to add nan to 5, a number 5, that you have declared a variable which you say that it's nan, and you have another variable which is declared 5, and you try to add these two, the result will be a nan, because you're trying to add nan to a number, then it is going to result into nan. Even if you try to add a string to nan, then it is also going to result in nan. Yeah, so next is your, if you try to add a string to nan, then the result will be nan too. Now there are various more things in this article. It will take a lot of time if I go through all of this. So I would leave you on you guys that you should uh, read about those into this article and practice probably about it. Read more and more if you're confused, or you can ask questions to us on Slack about it, and we will be happy to answer. Now, the next thing which I would like to tell you, which is very important in JavaScript, is the concept of logging. So, what is logging? So, if you're doing something and you probably want to see in JavaScript, if you're writing HTML code, you see the output when you run the HTML, when you run your file, right? And you see as in terms of your controls on the screen. But how about in JavaScript? How are you going to see? How would you know that what you are writing, the code you are trying to do, the operations, whether that result, whatever you are doing, that operation is correct or not, or I need to improve, what I need to improve? So how you can do? So the logs are very helpful in that case. So the log, the way we declare in JavaScript is this simple, these two keywords, console.log, like you see here on this black screen, that console.log hello world. So this is a type of log. So when you write this line, basically it is going to give you output as hello world. Whatever is written in these two codes here will be your result, which will be displayed to you. Now there is one more thing in JavaScript called alert. So this log is going to write it for you on the screen. But in the case of alert, it actually displays an alert message on the screen. So these are two things, you can use both, but logs are more, I would say, better to use than alerts. Alerts are very rare cases you should use. Definitely not when your program is going to go live, you should definitely remove all alerts until and unless they are necessary for your program. But if you're trying to use alerts for debugging purposes, so I would recommend don't use alerts for uh, just not for live programs. Even for debugging purposes, logs are better than alerts. So this is how logs are declared. What all you can do with using logs: you can declare a string inside it, you can write a string inside logs, you can also check your variable values. So suppose you have written a function which is adding two numbers x and y. Now you want to see whether you have written the correct function or not, and it's returning the value correctly or not. How would you know? So what you can do is you can return the value. Suppose you have written x is equal to 5, y equal to 7, and z equal to x plus y. Now you want to see whether z is giving me the correct value or not. So what you can do is, in this console.log, you just you can do just declare a comma here on the side, and you can write z comma z after these quotes, and that will give you the value of z in the logs. So that's how the logs are helpful, that people write them to see whether their program has executed or not. So like what I do is, where I feel that in my program sometimes that my function is getting called or not, that's the one question sometimes I have, that whether if my program is not running, whether this particular function is running or not, it's working or not. So what I do is I just write simply console.log, that function name inside the code, inside that function. So if that log is printed, I know that my function has actually is has started. Now where it's exactly it has is been erroring out, I can try to write that console.log at various steps in my function, and then that can tell me that okay, my probably program is failing at this point of time. So that's why people use console.log for various purposes, various things. So this is one of the probably use of logs. So here in this exercise here, they are saying that try following things. So try printing these things just in the console.log in your HTML file, or you have to write it inside the script tag. Remember that we write the JavaScript inside the script tags inside the HTML file. So yeah, that's a basic thing that I forgot to tell you guys, that where are you going to write your JavaScript. So there are two things. You can either write inline JavaScript, which is you declared script tags inside your HTML file itself, and you write the JavaScript inside these script tags. Or you can create a separate .js file, and you can then reference that JS files in this script tag here, and then it will run for this HTML page. So these are various things like console.log you can do. I would say you guys should go and look after these. What are these, and what else you can do with these? What are various things you should try? Whatever I was telling you, something like this, that they have declared a variable let b equal to 7 multiplied by a, and then you can try to print and see what exactly it is going to. So just try and see what all things this can do. So I would like to jump to next topic here, unless you guys have any questions. Anybody has any question? Brian, do you have a
So,
question?
sorry, I just want to ask
Yes, Grace,
something.
go ahead.
Like that console.log, like if I don't want it to be like I don't want to be checking the results in my browser, like I want to be seeing it in my VS Code, like the output instead of in my browser. Is there anything? Because I tried doing in my browser, but it wasn't in my code, my VS Code, my ID wasn't doing. So if I want it in my browser.
Can you repeat that for me, Grace? I'm have difficulty probably hearing your voice.
I'm saying if I want to display my output like using console.log, but I want it to be in my VS Code. I don't want it to be in my browser. I don't want to see the result in my browser. I want to see the result in my VS Code. How can I do that? Like the output in my ID itself. I don't want it to be in my browser.
Yeah, so you can, yeah, Sam.
Can I go ahead? Okay, my check. Yeah, thank you so much, Edet. Grace, yeah, there are plugins depending on, yeah, like you said, VS Code. I think VS Code has a plugin that you can use to do that. Yeah, that can show you not it's not going to be a console log. Anytime you do console log, it have to be in the browser. But I think VS Code has a plugin that can show you this thing. So I'll get the plug. Um I don't use VS Code, but I'll get to the plugin and share.
Okay, sir. Thank you,
Does
sir.
that, yeah, yeah. So console.log, it's always going to give you output in the browser. But if you want to see in VS Code, there are probably various things in Visual Studio which you can try and do if you want to see the output of your particular function or something like that. Okay, so we will go to the next topic here. Okay, so here we are going to little bit talk about the data types. I am not going to go over all of the data types because I think we are short of time here, but I can just tell you about basically what are the various data types in JavaScript, what are used. And after you guys read these articles and links in here, in this article, please try to answer these questions. And if you are not able to answer, read it again and try to find the answer for these questions. This is going to help you a lot. What about the basic data types in JavaScript? So basically, what are the types of data types in JavaScript? So there are 8 data types in JavaScript, but um, you won't probably think some of them as data types. But widely used ones, basically the ones is one is number, which we talked today. The another one is a string. We know that we declare a string in a code. There's one more thing which I would like to talk about string, which is really important. I will talk to you guys about that after I just tell you about the types. So there is basically numbers, big ends, strings. Then another is booleans. So booleans is basically you can say if you want to say a value about a true or false. So that's how we use the booleans for it. So booleans are used like that. So you don't have to use them as in, so if you can declare x equal to true, it doesn't have to be in quotes, it's just true as a keyword. So true is a keyword for JavaScript and false is a keyword in JavaScript. So if you want to compare something that want to see whether this function of mine returns a value true or not. So something like, if you remember the concept of is nan is not a number and it was returning a value of true or false. So that's what the value true or false is, a boolean. So you might want to check that. So that's one another data type people use. The other is null. Null is basically says that anything which probably is undefined or doesn't have any value in it basically. And undefined is another data type though. The most important another one is the object. Objects, like if you know the concept of arrays or something, then that's a object, classes and various other things. Another one is symbol, a data type in JavaScript. So I'm going to go over strings a little bit more. So we saw that how the strings are declared here. We declare the strings in double quotes or single quotes. It doesn't matter which quotes you use. but it has to be single quotes or double quotes. And it has to be one type of quote. You cannot mix two quotes together. So by mixing two quotes, I mean you cannot have like x equal to double quotes Aditi and it's ending with single quote. No, it has to be the same matching quote in starting with and ending with the same type of quote. Also, if string, it always needs to be inside a quote. If you forget to declare it inside a quote, then it will probably try to think that it is a variable name probably you are trying to assign to another variable. So something like if you write variable str name equal to name, right, and you forgot to put quotes outside of the name, then it will think that name is also a variable. So that's why if you're trying to declare a string, it has to be inside a quote and matching quotes. It cannot be one or the other. It has to be either double quotes or the single quotes. One more thing, that if you miss a quote, it's going to error out. If you miss, suppose you have put mistakenly you have put double quotes starting in the starting, but you missed the double quote in the end of the string, then it's going to error out. One more thing, in JavaScript you should end your I would say JavaScript statements with semicolon. So yeah, um, yes, semicolon. So basically if you try to if you miss that, it's not going to probably error out mostly, but it basically tells JavaScript that your statement has ended here. um, so there are various other things in JavaScript which also tells that your statement has ended. For example, there are loops. So if you're writing a loop, then you are using parentheses to define that loop. And then when you are writing some logic into that loop, you are using brackets. So that also tells it that my loop has started with the opening bracket, curly bracket, and when you are using closing curly bracket, it tells that the loop has ended. So in that case, after that closing curly bracket, you don't have to use the semicolon. Though inside that loop, whatever lines you write, you should use. It's a best practice, I would say, to use a semicolon after a statement. So those are very little things but are very important to know. Then there are various operations on a string or a number you can do. One of the thing is like you can do the search, such as the index of operation here. It is written one of the operation here, and you can try to find that. Suppose you want to know that what particular string has this particular string in it. Suppose it says that x is equal to mm, mm, my name is Aditi, and you want to say whether this string contains Aditi inside it or not. So you can use this index of operator to check. Index of is basically not to check the string. There are various other functions, inbuilt function in JavaScript, which you can use to check whether that this particular Aditi string is there or not. But index of also is one of the way which tells you the type of value it returns. Depending on that, it tells you that Aditi string is inside that big string or not. So index, if it returns null value, not null but negative value, which is like -1 or something, then it tells you that a string doesn't exist in that string. But if it returns value from 0 to any other number, that means it tells it that string is in there. But anything less than 0 means that string is not present in that. So there are various inbuilt string operation functions in JavaScript which you can use to simplify your programs. and very helpful for you. And I cannot go through all of them right now, or basically there are so many that I will never be able to cover them probably. So you have to read about them. There are various good articles here, and probably you should check these articles here. And there is one more thing as conditionals in JavaScript. So conditionals are like, uh, I would say that if you are trying to compare some things, then the conditional are very important. So how to do that? About that, there are, let's talk about this. So something like, you're trying to say that you're trying to match two values, or you are trying to find whether particular value is greater than the other one or not. So then you use the comparison operators, and depending on that, it returns the value to you. So suppose you're trying to do this, 2 is greater than 1 or not, then it gives you the value of true, or false. Depending on that, then this is obviously false. So this returns the booleans. These are the comparison operators which you use to find out that. And this is really fun stuff. I think you guys should definitely read these articles. I am probably running out of time right now, so that's why I will not go a lot more into detail. But I am definitely up for it if you guys want another session for it. So I can definitely go more into details. So please go ahead and please read these articles and ask any questions you have. um, Sam, I'm probably short of time here, so I will leave now. And but I don't mind if anybody wants to have another session with those conditionals. Hello.
Okay, my check.
Yeah. So I said that probably I don't know if people want to have another session for
I
these
can hear
conditionals
you.
to discuss.
No, no, I think this is awesome. This is awesome. So that we don't get too
Yeah,
loaded.
I would love to.
Don't
I
get
would love.
my check.
Yes, I can
Yes,
hear you.
man.
I can hear you.
Hello?
I'm just saying I wouldn't mind having another session on the conditional. I wouldn't mind having another session on the conditionals.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, people. Um, for me, I think this is awesome. Yeah, I think the foundation, the part two, we could schedule the part two for any time during the week. Yeah, I know it's really, really late at your hand. I need you to go and be with your family
Uh,
right now.
please,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
have a question, please, please.
So yeah.
Okay, please, Robert, go
Okay,
ahead.
so the question is funny. Like, the thing is, what 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 exactly is this JavaScript used for? Like, could you just show us like a practical stuff? Okay, this is the result I'll get from JavaScript. Like, I know HTML is for structuring, CSS is for styling. What about JavaScript? I don't really know. Like, I don't get what it's actually used for. Something like that.
Oh, okay, this first case here is to introduce us to JavaScript. Yeah, I think you understand variable declaration bits that she had spoken at length with, and
Yes,
so
I understood some
the
part of
next,
it.
yeah, the next class, the part two will be more practical. Okay,
Okay, okay, okay.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any other question?
Okay, then guys, I will go now, and yeah, I'm up for anything. If you have any questions, you want another session, it's fine with me. I don't mind. Just let me know, and please shoot your questions. Drop us text on Slack. You can call me. You can arrange to have a video call or voice call. It's fine with me. Okay, Sam, I'll go now. Bye.
Thanks, ma,
Bye.
for the
Thank you so much, Odette. I
Okay.
really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you
Bye.
later.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Bye.
bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
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 Yo, okay, people. Thanks so much for staying by. So the part we're going to book another class during the week so that we can do more practical part of JavaScript. And the practical part that we're going to be doing is to link it to the projects that we currently have now. Yeah, love it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are going to use the current project that we have to do the practical part. Okay.
Okay, okay, okay.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll let everybody go and I'll send in. I think we have the URL to this JavaScript, so I'll send it to the group once again. All right.
All right, thank
Okay.
you
Thank you.
very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Very
Okay.
much.
Bye.
Thank you.